Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Facebook Live Thursday with me, Alisa Vitti, founder of flowliving.com, author of Woman Code, and the creator of the My Flow app. And I'm super excited today to be talking to you about a subject near and dear to my heart, although all of them are. But I'm going to be sharing a little bit more of my own personal experience with this topic today. And we're talking about anxiety and stress, and I'm even going to kind of throw in a little bit of depression here too. And, hormones and the cycle and just my general take on that and what you need to know to really start to manage and address your anxiety and depression and stress in a way that really works. And I also want to say that today is going to have some chance for Q&A at the end. So start writing your questions now, and I will get to them. Keep them coming, and let me know what it is that you need to hear about. So definitely start putting your questions in the feed, and I usually go in order, so the sooner you write them, the sooner you'll get them answered. All right, so let's dive right in. We're talking about stress today. It seems to me like women certainly are made to feel like they have lots of problems with anxiety and depression, more so than men. Let's just right off the bat. And there is a historical, point of view that says that even women are more heavily medicated than men are for these types of emotional things that are going on. Now, don't get me wrong. Stress, anxiety, depression are real phenomenon, and I'm so excited about some of this research that just recently came out about what causes depression and anxiety and what's the functional medicine cause of that. And I'm just so thrilled to share with you some of that findings because, what you're doing in the flow protocol is really the answer. I think because we have our cycle and our hormonal changes, we're a little bit more susceptible to believing that this mood situation that we find ourselves in with anxiety and depression is out of our control. Just like our period is mysterious and our PMS is nothing that, can't be done, anything can't be done about it. We're more susceptible to buy into that mythology as well. And so first and foremost today, I just want to make sure that we're clear that if you're having anxiety and depression, there is a reason why that's happening to you and that you can fix it with dietary changes. And it isn't because you're just some hormonal mess and that you can't do anything about it, okay? And that medication is the only solution. In fact, a couple of great books out there in the conversation right now. Let's see, there's a great book by a UK physician, and I think the book is called Moody Bitches. I think that was the name of the book. And then Dr. Kelly Brogan wrote a book called A Mind of Your Own. And these are great, medically, sort of from the point of view of a practicing psychiatrist, sort of looking at why antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication is not a good solution for the vast majority of people. And why there's some other points of view that you want to take a look at. So let me just dive into the study. And please, we're talking about we want to take questions today. I want to take your questions today. So please write your questions in the space below and let me know kind of what you're curious about today. And the reason why this is so important to us as women who are cycle syncing, women who are interested in maintaining our healthy cycles, because the things that are causing anxiety and depression in the body can also impact your cycle in negative ways, meaning they can also suppress ovulation, decrease your fertile factor, make you age from a hormonal perspective earlier. So we want to address these things because it's all connected. Your body is all connected. And anywhere that you've heard that you need to sort of spot treat things, like spot treat your depression or anxiety, spot treat your acne, spot treat your gut, it's not the functional medicine approach, right? You are one organism, and the whole organism needs to be addressed in order for the body itself to do what it's meant to do in its variety of different functions. So I think that's another important thing to say. So let's talk about some of these causes of anxiety and depression. So this study that recently came out found that people who were depressed and anxious actually have more cytokines, which is a form of inflammation. It's an inflammatory marker in the bloodstream than people who are not depressed and anxious. So what does that mean? So it means that people who are depressed and anxious are literally having an allergic reaction to these cytokines. They're having an autoimmune-like reaction to this substance that is elevated in the body. And how do we get elevated cytokines? One might ask. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from exposure to chemicals and bad diet. That's it, right? So obviously, if you are looking to improve your health condition, your mental health condition, you want to start with diet. We also know, I mean, that was the brand new study. Then older studies have talked about how the microbiome plays a huge role in if you have a dysfunctional, disrupted microbiome and leaky gut, for example, you'll have a harder time making adequate levels of serotonin, dopamine, for example, some of the mood-balancing neurotransmitters, because there's certain bacteria in the microbiota that help you make those neurotransmitters. 90% of them are manufactured in the gut. So if your microbiome is off, right? If you're eating pro-inflammatory foods that are likely giving you leaky gut, it's like a little vicious cycle, and then you've got your microbiome is off. Let's say you've been taking the pill for years, right? You know, that study that linked the use of the pill to depression. Well, here's why: because the pill, destroys your microbiome, and when that's off, then you can't make enough serotonin, dopamine, right? So another vicious cycle. So if you've been exposed to the pill, or you're someone who's taken a lot of antibiotics, right? Anything that's going to disrupt the microbiome, all of this is going to create a situation where you're starting to lose ground on your mood, right? All of a sudden, you're just not going to feel like yourself. And it can feel very confusing, because you're like, oh, I used to be this happy person. I wonder what happened. And it feels like it's random and it's hard to track it back. But it really does come down to in many, many cases, what it is that you're eating and how your microbiome is performing. And then the third underlying cause is stress. This is separate, right? So stress, when I say stress, I don't mean it like the emotional state of when you are stressed, because when you are stressed, you're really like anxious, right? Or even depressed. So stress, we use it just like we don't have precision with how we reference our period. We say, oh, it's our period, or it's my cycle. Well, does that mean you're just in one of the days of the month, or does that mean you're bleeding, right? It lacks precision, and therefore it somehow disempowers and confuses us. So similarly with stress, when I'm saying stress, I mean things that are happening that cause cortisol and adrenaline to be active, okay? The stress can then result in several things. It can result in the emotional state of anxiety or depression. It can result in a physical state of fatigue. It can result in hives on your skin. It can result in a lot of different things, okay? It can result in a skipped period. So stress is a physiological situation with the adrenals where cortisol and adrenaline hormones are in action. And that is a big problem when it comes to long-term effects on your mood. So there are many ways in which we get stressed, and I kind of want to just really break it down for you, because I'm going to share two personal experiences that I have experienced, one a while back and one more recently, and kind of this will all kind of explain these three underlying causes in a really visceral way, if you will. And so the stress thing, is a real thing. So how do we get stressed in the body? We screw up our circadian rhythm with sleep, right? we sleep with a lot of lights on or not in complete darkness. We go to bed super late. We don't wake up at the right times. Or we skip meals is another way to mess with circadian rhythms. Like we skip meals or we don't eat them at a regular basis. We have caffeine on an empty stomach in the morning. These types of things, right, where we have this kind of circadian rhythm stress really stresses out the adrenals and can very quickly over time make you feel bummed out on the one hand and anxious on the other hand. And I like to talk about these in conjunction because oftentimes they do kind of come together, especially when the causes are the three things that we're talking about. Like the littlest things will set you off into like an anxiety response, and then that whole process is so fatiguing that later you feel depressed for a few days, right? So it's like two sides of the same coin when we're looking at the root causes of this experience of having anxiety and depression. So I hope that you're all clear on where it comes from and why it's so important that you should be running to diet and lifestyle changes as the first line of approach, right? To address these issues. Now, some of you may have questions about, well, what if it's what if my anxiety and depression feels cyclical, right? Or I have certain times of the month where I'm anxious or I'm depressed. And so we can look at another cause here, a fourth cause. So in this situation, the three causes that I just discussed are present, guaranteed, in the case where you might feel that your anxiety depression has a cyclical pattern to it. However, you may also have estrogen dominance as a fourth underlying cause as well. So you may find that during ovulation, you feel a little bit more anxious or depressed, and that during the luteal phase, during where you typically will have people reference the concept of PMS, which is just a hormonal imbalance and not a necessary part of your cycle, that you'll feel anxious and depressed then. Some women feel depressed during their period because their levels of hormones have fallen off precipitously at that time. So it really just depends on where you are. But all of those things, as you know from the MyFlow app and the Flow protocol and the monthly Flow program, are things that we address with the cycle syncing dietary changes, right? We are eating in specific ways to help your body break down excess estrogen and make more hormones when hormones are low. So this is a really wonderful aspect of the protocol. So let me share some, just like my experience with this. So when I first had my PCOS 20 years ago and was really in the thick of it, I was, I would say very depressed. I remember if I look at sort of like the pattern of my day, I was really like couldn't sleep at night, couldn't wake up in the morning, and just was in like a funk and a fog, and just felt yucky all the time, and that was and I was very withdrawn. I didn't really want to spend time with people or socialize with people. It was like a whole depressed experience. And I was very quick to get anxious about things that required, action, because I was so, fatigue is a part of depression. So I was just so kind of like generally blah that it was like anything that required me to do something, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? Overwhelmed, very overwhelmed. And I was really amazed at how quickly my mood turned around, and I was restored to sort of this like happiness that I had lost. I felt like I used to be this like happy child, and I just felt like, oh, maybe I'll never be that person again. But it 100% came back when I reduced that inflammation in my body, got my estrogen in check, healed my microbiome, addressed the stress, healed that blood sugar instability that causes the stress that we talked about, all of the steps of the Flow protocol. Because what am I doing by each of these steps of the protocols? I'm really nourishing the whole organism of myself, right? From the way the endocrine system likes to be addressed, to the immune system, to the stress response system, the microbiome, the elimination system. It's a full, comprehensive way to care for the body, and you need no less than that. You need everything to be working. You can't just have one system working and not all the others. So That's what's so beautiful and elegant about the flow protocol is it's very simple, but it's so comprehensive. And that's what I love about it. And it was great to recover those things for myself and to get out of that depressed state. Now, doesn't mean that you can't have relapses. I myself, as you know, I'm a new mom, and I chuckle because had anyone told me that I would be so chronically sleep deprived, I just wouldn't have understood. And so any of you who are moms and have children probably are like nodding your head like, oh yeah, honey, I could have told you that. I wouldn't have understood. But now having a kid and really, breastfeeding her and being part of this whole, not sleeping through the night, I am seeing all the same things that are really going on that are really, really pushing my adrenals to their very limit. Not being able to get good quality sleep at night. I have to do so much more to try to keep on top of that, manage that adrenal stress that's happening because, we're still figuring out the whole night thing. And if I don't stay on top of it, right, I notice days where I'm really tired. I wake up and I'm just feeling depressed. I just feel blah. Or I'll feel kind of anxious if there's a lot to do. Like, oh, how am I going to do all that? And I don't look at myself and say, oh, gee, I need medication. I say, oh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I might need to do some extra herbal support. I might need to, take a gentle walk instead of this other exercise I had planned. I might need to eat certain foods. I look at that as just a symptom that my body is giving me as a gift so that I have the opportunity to hear it and respond right away so I can move forward and move more quickly out of those feelings. So I'm sharing my personal example because I think it's just so universal that we as women have so much going on in our lives. We caretake for other people, and a lot of that takes a toll on our bodies. But when we ignore those little symptoms of feeling off, we let it go for too long, then, we get in a situation where we feel like we might have no other choice but to, go on something that we might not want to go on. And that's another thing that I love about using the MyFlow app is that you can be tracking these symptoms. It's in your face how you're feeling and what's going on in your body. And it's telling you why it's happening from a functional medicine standpoint. And it's giving you some immediate food tips to help you take action right away so that you don't let it go and progress and get into a situation where you just feel like you can't dig yourself out. And I know how that feels because 20 years ago, it was that bad for me. And I really did feel like I couldn't dig myself out, but I had no choice, and everything was just, I was at my health rock bottom, and I'm very lucky that I was able to make the right choices to move forward. But I don't want any woman to have to get to that place. I want you to be able to use the small signals, the small symptoms, to help you get back on track more quickly and not ever get into that place in the first place. So, what have we covered so far for those of you who are just joining? We talked about anxiety, depression being kind of a similar side of the coin. We talked about 4 underlying causes about how anxiety and depression arise in the body. We talked about some studies that show, in fact, that the best course of action is dietary and lifestyle changes to impact mood and its optimization. And I shared a little bit about, why I think the MyFlow app is a really powerful tool to help you keep track and take care of yourself on a daily basis so that you don't ever get yourself sort of in the downward spiral that I found myself in a while back. So that's my take on stress, and I kind of want to start going through some of your questions, and I just want to check in with my notes and make sure that I didn't forget anything because, I want to give you all the goods. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of my favorite stress relieving tips, and then I'm going to take your questions. Okay. And I want to, before I do the stress relieving tips, I want to just say that obviously this is a subject that I care about because it is it is part of the conversation around your cycle and your menstruation, and what, you should be looking at anxiety and depression in connection with how healthy your period is. So, if you're having skipped periods, or if you're having, a diagnosis of something like PCOS, or, if you're struggling with infertility, bad PMS, irregular cycles, all of those things are part of the same, have similar root causes to anxiety and depression. So if you're noticing anxiety and depression, I also want you to look at your cycle, audit your period, and just see if all of these things are happening in concert for you. They don't typically just happen in a vacuum, like all by itself. Symptoms that are caused by the same things tend to happen simultaneously. So you want to be looking at your period because it is there as your fifth vital sign, as decreed by the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists last year, as a way for you to really take a very important pulse point on your health overall and your moods. Though you may feel they're being affected in a cyclical fashion, you might notice it more during your cycle, but it's probably the case that you're experiencing it kind of maybe at a low grade level every day, but there's certain parts of the cycle where you feel it more because of some hormonal fluctuations. But your period is not causing you to be depressed and anxious. I want to be clear about that. The underlying causes must be there first, that we talked about. The gut issues, the inflammatory issues, the stress issues, those things are really what's causing the anxiety and depression. Your cycle is just maybe pointing it out to you more loudly at certain times of the month, but your hormones are not the cause. They're just a part of the conversation. So what do I do to help myself? And I'm going to talk about some food things. I'm going to talk about some supplement things. I'm going to talk about some self-care things, and then I'm going to take your questions. So the biggest thing for me, which is also the hardest, because when I'm feeling this way, I'm a Taurus, so I tend to I'm like a house cat, So when I'm not feeling good, I tend to not move more, and that's like totally counterproductive for my stress and my mood. So I really try to push myself to do some sort of movement, even if it's just like going for a walk, or sometimes I really love it if I can just go meet a friend for a cup of tea, because the act of walking to meet my friend for the tea and then being with someone in social context really brightens my mood and moves energy in my body in a different way. So movement, gentle movement, even just stretching, really, really good. And then a social break where I get to connect with someone else. And if I can't do it in person, I phone a friend. I'm one of those, a phone a friend people. And, just to even come out and say, listen, I'm in I'm just not feeling great. I just want to chat and have a nice chat with you. Feels really good. And then something else that I do that really brightens my mood is, because it does affect me. And I've not yet read the Magical Art of Tidying Up, but even without reading it, I love the idea, because when things are cluttered and disorganized in my home environment, it adds to my stress and overwhelm. So if I am feeling a little blah, I will just take a moment to, clear off my desk a little bit, or, do something to just organize things. And it's not just that the act of having it done is helpful. I find that the act of doing it is meditative and takes my mind off of whatever my mind has gotten hooked into during my depression or anxiety. So I find that to be really a nice, an active kind of meditation, where I'm cleaning something, organizing things, folding my clothes and rearranging them in the closet. It's very, very helpful. And then as far as food, what I like to do here is always, if it's the night where I didn't get a lot of sleep, I really try to have a good breakfast that really just helps offset the hypoglycemia that will come from not having a good night of sleep. And then I will do my best to take some supplements that day that will help. The first one I will take would be a cinnamon supplement. I like New Chapter Cineforce, because when you have circadian rhythm stress, and you're not sleeping consistently, or you're going to bed late and, waking up early, or whatever your version of that is, your body, your metabolism, your endocrine system has almost an impossible time stabilizing blood sugar throughout the day. So taking a supplement like cinnamon will help you keep your blood sugar more stable. And then I try to be really good with moderating carbohydrate intake, boosting fat intake and protein intake that day to help offset the sleep issue if that has happened. So that's a really good thing to do as well. And then, lots of antioxidants, lots of anti-inflammatory foods. I might have like a snack to curb that sweet craving. I might make like a smoothie with a banana and berries and a vegan protein and coconut oil and things like that to really help. I might add some extra antioxidants like camu powder, moringa. What else do I like to put in there? Those are like my two favorites right now, actually. You could put acerola cherry powder in there. That would be really good too. So, things that are going to just help your body offset any of the oxidative stress that comes from dealing with stressful lifestyle stuff that comes up that really messes with the adrenals, and that increases C-reactive protein in the body. And then definitely you have to avoid chemical exposure, remove any sort of chemical exposure that you might be dealing with in the home. Get rid of the stuff that leaves scents on your clothes for days and days. The study it's been out for a while that actually increases your risk for cancer. That's in the long term. In the short term, those chemicals are causing you to have elevated, inflammation in the body. So you want to get rid of those things that are going to make you have a harder time breaking through to the other side of this, getting out of the root causes. So get rid of all the chemical stuff, eat organic, and very quickly your body will start to heal and get better. And certainly I would double up on my probiotics for sure to help my gut. I would drink some bone broth. A lot of things I tend to do more with food than I do with supplementation. I leave that for like the extreme cases. Cinnamon is a food, even though I take it in supplement form. And yeah, so that's that. If I do take supplements, which I do sparingly from time to time for this kind of thing, I personally find that for me, what works for me and my type of body's reaction is by the time I get stressed, it's because I'm depleted fundamentally, right? Like my micronutrients might be off. I'm depleted from not sleeping. So I like to use things that are very soothing to the adrenals, right? So ashwagandha, reishi mushroom extract, oat straw tincture, holy basil, things that are relaxing and soothing and restorative to the adrenals are really good, as opposed to things that are stimulating. I don't want to stimulate my adrenals to work more. That to me doesn't feel like a healing path. It feels like I'm pushing them even further, and I don't want to make myself worse, right? So I would stay away from like ginseng or even maca. For a while, I would really more focus on the healing and soothing herbs, and then later maybe do some maca. And I would definitely do extra vitamin B5 and extra vitamin C. If you don't feel like you're getting enough in your diet, those two are the very best supplements that you can take for your adrenals. And then in general, I think a good essential fatty acid and something like that's going to really benefit your brain chemistry, like either a fish oil or like evening primrose oil. Those are a really good thing to take as well. So those are my suggestions. And I want to scroll through. I'm going to start scrolling through your cues and see if I can give you some A's to your cues. Oh my gosh, so many questions. Okay, good. Where am I? Okay, Nagin is asking about what to, well, you know what, let me see. I want to talk more about anxiety and depression issues. So Jose is dealing with, this must be someone else, because Jose can't have a period, but maybe someone under Jose's, Jose is dealing with anxiety issues towards the end of my period and during my follicular phase. Period starts off brown. What could be causing this? So actually, Nagin, this will kind of answer your question a little bit too. So low progesterone is definitely something that's going to create a situation where you're having slightly elevated estrogen, right, in relationship to this lower progesterone. And this can definitely trigger a feeling of anxiety and depression around the cycle, before, during, and after. So again, what you want to be doing is cycle syncing your diet, download the MyFlow app, and start really eating to help you offset that estrogen and boost your progesterone levels. That's just really the right approach. Wait, hold on. I just missed this question about coming off the pill, I think. Here we go. Emily Simpson. Emily, okay. Yeah. I think that the after effects of being on the pill can be very severe for some women. I think the pill has a lot of side effects that are not discussed thoroughly, and I think some women with, and this is, I've said this in the book, I say this every time I talk about the pill. The book that I wrote, Woman Code. If you haven't read it, please read it. That if you're put on the pill and you have a pre-existing hormonal condition, most of the time it will make that pre-existing condition worse in the long term, and can give you some secondary issues, because the same things that it's doing to you, just stripping you of magnesium, of B vitamins, of disrupting your microbiome, those are those deep root causes that make anyone susceptible to having a hormonal imbalance. So the fact that you already have one, and then you take a medication that's making those root causes worse, can make the existing condition worse and give you secondary symptoms. So the fact that you feel like coming off the pill has caused some other symptom around your depression, and that you've had all these issues with, struggling to be on and off medication. And then the sex drive thing is definitely a combination of being exposed to antidepressants and the after effects of the pill. So, I think that in your case, really taking an aggressive approach with diet while you're still potentially on your medication is going to be a place for you to start, because you've got to bring that inflammation down in the body, and you've got to address some of the things that these medications have been doing to your system. And in your case, I would really love for you to check out, just to give you some perspective before you make a decision about what to do, check out Kelly Brogan's book, A Mind of Your Own, and see what you think about what she has to say, and the research that she's put together there. I think that would be a really good resource for you, Emily. Okay, let's see. Krista is talking about how she thinks she's going through menopause early and she's having some depression. I mean, again, you're going through a huge, I'm frustrated not about your question. I'm frustrated that you're being made to feel like you're going crazy. Going through hormonal transition is going to have major effects on your system. And if you're going through it early, and that your mom went through it early, and so there's a genetic component here, you got to get really aggressive with the dietary changes that you're going to need to make today and to be on for the long term to help you deal with the fluctuation in your hormones. So, in your case, adding, and I never talk about soy being a good thing. In your case, increasing soy as a food is going to be really helpful to help bring up some estrogen, phytoestrogenic levels in the body. At the same time, taking some other good supplements to help round out some of the things that we talked about could be really helpful. Could be just these little things could make the huge difference for you in smoothing out that experience of the transition. And PCOS and perimenopause and menopause have a lot of things in common from a hormonal standpoint. So I really understand what you feel like. I've lived through it, and I'm telling you, food can really, really make the difference and unlock your good moods again. So try that first. If you've already not chosen to go on the meds and you're still managing things just fine, I would really want you to try, getting some food changes in, maybe considering doing the Sexy Flow program, which is really our perimenopause program, and see what changing diet and supplements do for you. It's so great. Okay, let's see. Hannah's asking a question about, are there certain foods that we should eat when we are going through those physical feelings of anxiety in a day? I try to avoid coffee, obviously, but are there foods that could help me calm the system more than others? What a good question. I love that question. Yeah, I would say definitely stay away from the caffeine and staying away from any foods that are inflammatory so that you're not adding to any of those cytokines in the body. So staying away from wheat, staying away from dairy, staying away from nuts, staying away from soy, staying away from those things that are going to be problematic for you would be good. And then adding in some foods that are rich in B vitamins and vitamin C are going to really, help you with stress and anxiety. So any berries, any fresh fruit, a fresh smoothie or a juice would be really good, full of antioxidants and vitamin C. If you're in the right phase of your cycle, to do something really raw. If not, cooked berries are great. And then good whole grains for the B vitamins, right? And some good proteins as well for the B vitamins. So anything from, eggs to quinoa are things that I would be eating during the day. So again, it's all the foods that are part of the cycle syncing conversation, and that will really just help you every day, because every day is a little different, and it's also depending on where you are in your cycle. And so I'd love to give you the answer that I want you to eat the foods that are appropriate for the phase of your cycle, because they are all perfectly organized to be anti-inflammatory, to be anti-anxiety, to be, promoting good moods and promoting good hormonal balance. So I want you to just try it for like a month or two where you're eating this way and just see how you feel. I love you too. Okay, I'm scrolling. Kusha is asking a question about can you talk about the effect of long cycles on anxiety? And what's the difference between rhodiola and ashwagandha regarding anxiety and stress? Okay, let's start with that one because that's just a quickie answer. So ashwagandha is an adaptogen and is very soothing to the adrenals and really helpful for stress and anxiety and all of that. Rhodiola is like, helps with concentration. So it's slightly different. I would use it more for helping to manage brain fog and that kind of like mental fatigue that can come from depression and anxiety, but I wouldn't necessarily think of it as an adrenal healer. I would think of it more as like a support to the healing work that you are doing for the adrenals, okay? And then long cycles and anxiety, so meaning you're going a long time between one period and the next, which, that's like PCOS. And for me, I would go 6, 7, 8 a year, not getting a period. So yes, it has profound effects on it because, again, everything I said before, the reason why you're not getting your cycle are the same underlying causes that are contributing to mood destabilization. So it's all completely connected. And if you have either symptom, the anxiety or the long cycles, you could easily have the other. So if you start off with long cycles, you could all of a sudden end up feeling a new symptom of anxiety and depression. If you have anxiety and depression, you could have another symptom of difficulty with your cycle. So the same causes can create other situations in the body. So that's why it's not effective to treat anxiety or to treat, the cycle. It's effective to treat what's causing it. And that's what the flow protocol does. It goes to the root causes so that your body heals what is wrong, because your body is really good at that. You just have to be really good at nourishing the things that are really off. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is a good question. Juliet is asking a question about struggling with anxiety and depression after your period during the follicular phase. She gets so moody, it's like PMS, but after your period. Is that normal? Well, what's normal is that you would to feel great all month long. That's what's normal. So it's a symptom. What you're having is a symptom of some issue, right? So it's either that your estrogen levels are too low, that you're struggling with this during the follicular phase where they should be rising, but it's more likely that you've got to look at microbiome, you've got to look at when you're eating, blood sugar stability, circadian rhythms, all of these things that are addressed in the first 3 steps of the protocol: blood sugar stability, adrenal support, and estrogen metabolism, right, and the microbiome. So I would really want you to start doing some work around those 3 areas to see if that doesn't, in fact, even out your cycle overall and your moods throughout the cycle, and then write me back and let me know how you're doing. Okay. Okay, Teresa, I think I answered your question about rhodiola. Great. Rachel's asking a question about she's been experiencing severe anxiety all day, every day for the past year. She just started changing her diet and her anxiety has gotten a bit better, but she's still battling it. Are there particular foods to eat more of or avoid? That's great. No, so I did answer that question before with, the foods that are for like vitamin C rich foods, vitamin B rich foods. I would definitely have you take every woman should be on a couple of basic supplements, like a good B100 complex, magnesium, probiotics, and an essential fatty acid, whether you do that as fish oil or evening primrose oil. Those are like kind of, and magnesium, if I didn't say that already, that's like universally needed by women. And if you've been on the contraceptive before, you could have been very depleted from B vitamins and magnesium and your gut microbiome, and if you hadn't medicated afterwards with those supplements, you could, again, have just been losing a lot of ground over the past couple of years, and it could have resulted in some anxiety. Now, if there's got to be some other external factor that was a trigger for this, an environmental factor, something going on in your life, some major event situation that happened that could have kicked off this experience of anxiety as well. So, while you're working on the dietary changes and the supplementation, see what needs to be addressed in the external environmental stuff as well. Okay. Eileen has a good question. She's just basically saying that she never feels good during her cycle. She doesn't feel like she has a lot of energy in the follicular phase. She feels anxious and stressed during ovulation. She feels all emotional and moody during the luteal phase. She just says, I never feel good during my cycle. Can I share my thoughts on this? You bet. Eileen, you're having just general hormonal imbalance. You've got to really address this with cycle syncing. You've got to do the first 3 steps of the flow protocol to clean up the fundamental underlying causes of why your cycle is not making you feel great all the time, because that's what it's designed to do. And then you cycle sync as maintenance. I mean, it's like the 2-part process. Clean up in part 1, steps 1, 2, and 3, and then step 4, cycle sync for life, so that you don't feel this way. You should feel great, and I want you to feel great. Okay, Hailey Smith, coffee. Is it okay during the day, say after lunch? Or if you're trying to give your adrenals a break, eliminate it altogether. See how smart you are, Haley? Of course, if you're trying to give your adrenals a break, you've got to go off the sauce. It really should be a controlled substance. I don't know why we let people get so addicted to caffeine and sugar, and then, it's like a double standard. To me, those are just as powerful drugs as any other drugs, and I don't think we should be like so liberal with the use of them. And especially because a lot of women don't have the gene to break down caffeine. And if you're someone who has polycystic ovaries, chronic recurrent ovarian cysts that have ruptured or have needed to be operated on, or things like of that nature, fibroids, endometriosis, adenomyosis, if you've got fibrocystic breasts, right, you've got the tendency to form cysts in the body. it's very likely that you don't have the gene to break down caffeine, and that caffeine is exacerbating the formation of those cysts and growths in your reproductive organs. You got to stay off of it, period, forever. I haven't been on coffee for 20 years now. I mean, no caffeine of any sort. I can't do it. And it's a huge bonus to you if you're trying to heal from adrenal stuff to get rid of it, because it's such an adrenal stimulator and can really make it so much worse. I mean, I remember I was working the very first Sexy Flow program that I launched last year. I was working with a few of the women, and one woman was like, I mean, she didn't even tell me at the beginning, because, I mean, I think people know that for women with hormonal issues, I'm pretty much like, you got to get off the caffeine. So she didn't even tell me, but midway through the program, she's like, I have such a big announcement. I'm like, I find this is like one of the funniest calls I've ever had. She's like, I got off caffeine. I'm like, that's great. Tell me the before and after. She's like, I used to have... it's so great. She's like, I used to have 17 cups a day, and I couldn't even, I'm going to cry. I couldn't even believe she was having that much coffee. 17 cups a day. She was that exhausted. She was that depressed. She was just not eating. She was just literally having 10 to 17 cups of coffee a day. And she's like, I can't believe I got off all of this coffee. And I feel like a different person. I feel like a person again. I feel like a human being, and like everything just got so much better for her. But yes, that's an extreme example. I know you're not drinking that much coffee, Haley, but no coffee. Okay. Kate asked a question of when you say you give yourself extra herbal support during the day, what does that mean? Which herbs and how? So I will do two things. I'll do like a rooibos and holy basil tea during the day. The rooibos for the extra antioxidants and the holy basil for the adrenal support. I'll do cinnamon, either in a smoothie with berries, again for the vitamin C for my adrenals, or like as a supplement, the Cineforce. Those are my go-tos, and then at night I'll take extra magnesium and extra oat straw tincture to help soothe the adrenals, and then in the morning I'll take a B supplement. So that's it. That's what I do. Pretty straightforward. I do the things I tell you to do. Okay. Laura Pavesi, everything you're saying is so true. I know. I started following your protocol some months ago, and I've been slowly but firmly fixing all my problems related to PCOS, including depression. Yeah. And I want to thank you so much for helping us understand how we work and how we should care for ourselves every day. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad that you shared that story, and I'm just so happy for you. You're getting your life back and your health and your vitality, and I know how that feels, and I'm just so excited. And I want to ask you a really important question, Laura, and anybody else who's going through the protocol, who's starting to turn the corner and reclaiming that vitality and that power. And this is a question I would ask you if we were one-on-one. I would ask you, what are you going to do once you've reclaimed your full energy and vitality? What are you going to channel that life force into? This is not like a silly esoteric question. This is a really critical next step in your healing. And here's why. As women, and I said this in my TED Talk, which I have to check, I think we're at 1 million views. But anyway, I said this in my TED Talk. Gloria Steinem said in one of her amazing speeches that she gave that little boys are taught to view their bodies as tools to master their environment, while little girls are taught to view their bodies as unending projects to work on. And Laura, I'm asking you this question because if you don't make a decision about where you're going to channel this life force energy that you are now reclaiming, right? Because you've done all this hard work to heal yourself, what's likely going to happen is you're going to get pulled back into what we're conditioned to do, which is to self-sabotage, and then to just continuously be working on getting better, getting sick, getting better, getting sick, getting better. It's like a hamster wheel. or for some women it's losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining. That way you're always channeling all your life force energy into that dance. And you are here not to be wasting all your time with that. You're here to feel good, to do the basic things that you now know how to do, to keep your vitality where it should be, to have that as a foundation for you to launch yourself vigorously into life. So I want you to start thinking now already, even though you're still in the middle of it, what might you do with your one wild and precious life and with all this new juice that you're going to have? I want you to start thinking about, what are those passions? What are those dreams? What do you care about? What change do you want to help create in the world? How can you use your life force to be an agent of change? That's what I'm interested in. And fundamentally what I'm interested in for all women who are doing the flow protocol, to wake up to the power of you, because we need all of you on full volume in the world right now. So just a little side coaching, couldn't help myself because I'm so excited for you, Laura. Okay, let's see here. Oh, this is a good question, Lydia, and let me just check the time. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. Okay, Lydia has a question about, what are your thoughts on natural progesterone cream for low progesterone if you're in your late 20s? Here's what I think. And this is a really good question. Why I selected is because actually natural progesterone cream can actually accumulate in the fat. So the progesterone can accumulate in the fat tissues over time and actually increase depression. How do you like that? Crazy. And this is the thing about hormones. It's always better to nourish your endocrine function so that it can rebuild and regulate its own hormonal output, because anytime you try to add it in externally in terms of supplementation, creams, etc., pills, it throws things off because the endocrine system and the hormonal conversation is just so delicate. So, and the other thing I would say is, in your late 20s, you really would do so much better by giving yourself the chance to heal with food and lifestyle. There's really no reason why you would need to go there if you were to do, let's say, 2-3 months on the flow protocol. So those are my thoughts pretty specifically about that. I would want you to avoid using any sort of outside hormonal replacement, and I would want you to instead help your body replenish its own hormonal balance. Kate asked the question, I think I've answered it, what should women pay attention to most when coming off the pill? We do a whole birth control rehab just by you doing the monthly flow program. I mean, I want you to make sure that you're focusing on replenishing lost micronutrients and getting your hormone levels balanced. So really be looking out for signs of that depletion. How do you know if you're magnesium deficient, for example? I have a ton of articles on that, but headaches, bloating, and muscle twitches or cramps, or like those types of things that wake you up in the night. Those are some pretty significant symptoms as well. Let's see. I want to answer this question. Brittany O'Brien, how do you deal with depression and anxiety that comes from the symptoms of really difficult periods? I have PCOS and endometriosis and sometimes have bled for 100 days. Some days the pain is so intense I can't get out of bed or leave the house because there aren't any products that will stop the flooding that happens. Sometimes I just have to stand in the tub. Sister, that's heavy, literally. I'm going to tell you that you need to start working on dietary changes immediately. I mean, this isn't me anymore just saying these things. I mean, we've got a couple of celebrities out just recently around endometriosis. Tia Mowry, what's her name? The girl from Dancing with the Stars. I forget her first name, but her last name is Huff. Carrie Ann Huff, something like that. Lena Dunham, the absolute way out of endometriosis. I don't know how many women we've put into remission with their endometriosis through the flow protocol. You can change this situation is what I want to offer you some hope. having done this now for 17 years with thousands of women in 216 countries, this does not need to be your life, okay? And the fact that you feel miserable about that is reasonable. The fact that you're feeling depressed and anxious about the fact that your body is suffering is reasonable and is an important part of you being motivated to take action. You know, I think it's another part, you know, construct of the patriarchy. I mean, I'm just going to say it, that we as women are taught to judge our feelings. You know, it would be weird if you didn't feel miserable about the situation that's happening in your body. So the fact that you feel miserable about it is a part of this process that you go through as a human being to take action. I think Tony Robbins said, he was quoting one of his teachers when he said that human beings will do anything and everything to avoid potential suffering rather than gain potential pleasure. So here you are, suffering, and you are in the best position right now to do everything that you need to do to avoid having to suffer more. And that's a powerful position to be in. I've been in that position when I was at the critical mass of my PCOS. I know that it's a powerful moment. You have this huge pivot that you're about to make, and I just want you to know that you can do it, and we're here for you, and it's going to get better. Period. Okay. I'm going to take a few more questions. This is such a good chat today. I'm feeling all the feelings over here. This is a good question. I love this question. Yael, beautiful name, former clean program wellness coach, and have loved my work. Thank you so much for a long time. Curious about what I think about the complex and tricky chicken or the egg relationship between gut health and hormone fertility balance. Is this tricky because hormone imbalance will impact thyroid, liver, and thus your GI health? However, it could go reverse where severe gut imbalances can lead to hormone balance. What does someone do if they can't even digest the foods well in order to help balance out hormones? Thank you, Yael. Great question. I, of course, was looking at all of this when I first put the protocol together. And again, what I think is really unique about the protocol at Flow Living is that we are a body-led protocol. We are not some dietary theory, academic only, nice idea-led protocol. We are going by the sequence that the body needs to then have the right cumulative effect to address exactly the situations that you're postulating, right? So by addressing blood sugar balance first and then adrenal health second, you lay a foundation to then actually be able to go actually and do any work in the gut. This is why I always walk around saying the first thing to do is not a detox, right? So detoxing can be really problematic and very triggering for women, regardless of whether they have gut imbalance or hormonal issues first. Always, always, always let the body dictate how it needs to be approached. And that's what's so unique about the Flow protocol. So I love that question. I love how smart that question is. And yeah, that's my answer. Okay. Alexis, I thought maca helps with adrenals. Can you clear this up for me? Yes, I made a comment. Glad you caught it. Maca is great when adrenals are not totally fried. Maca is really good if you want to boost your energy as you go through, let's say, perimenopause. But if you're really deeply fried from stress and all these other things that we were talking about today, and it's impacting mood, I would first do a restorative ashwagandha course and then later add the maca in. But I wouldn't necessarily just use maca because I don't think it would get the job done. Hope that answers your question. Do I have a good replacement for clothing detergent? Gloria Dweck, you bet. I wash all my family's clothes in 7th generation free and clear. That's it. It has no scent. It has no nothing. We put on the baby's clothes. We put on my clothes. Oh, and my secret trick, I love telling everybody about this. My mom taught me to do this, and I swear to God, it was the most epic life-changing laundry moment of my life. I put a cup of baking soda, Arm & Hammer baking soda, into the machine with the clothes. So I put the clothes in, I dump all the baking soda on the clothes, and then I put the soap in wherever the soap dispenser goes, the liquid soap. And then I just let it do it. Towels, whites, colors, like everything's so clean, squeaky clean. I love it. So baking soda with your soap, super good. Yeah, Ecos brand is good too. Yes, yeah, for sure. There are many brands. I mean, just basically get the one that has nothing in it, free of dyes and everything. And okay, Ashley Madsen. Should evening primrose oil be taken daily or only in the first half of the cycle? Recently came off of birth control. Yay! And hormonal acne and PMS has returned with a vengeance. Thanks. Well, I certainly hope that you have been, before you came off the pill, as I always recommend, do 2 months of the flow protocol before coming off the pill. If you didn't do that, then get right on the flow protocol ASAP, because you've got to address all the things that are causing the acne and the PMS. Yes, you should expect a relapse if you didn't do that first. If you did, you may need to supplement a little bit more with magnesium and B vitamins to help, and you can take evening primrose oil the whole cycle long. That's totally fine. Alice Bracegirdle, hello, I miss you. Alice and I met a long time ago at a conference. She is the creator of Belly Fit, which I just love. It's an amazing female-centric movement program, and I was supposed to go keynote at one of her conferences, and I was pregnant and chose not to fly out. And so we have some unfinished business, sister. We got to do something together. Anyway, but let me answer your question. Loving you from Canada, from over here. 16-year-old became a vegan a year ago and is definitely needing some help with balancing hormones, reducing stress, increasing energy. What are your essentials, foods and supplements for the vegans out there, and what should they stay away from? There's altogether too much tofu going on over here. Oh, Lord, get her off the tofu. That's the first thing I would say. Get her off the tofu. And then if she's going to do it, okay, she can do it a couple of times a week, but not like every single day, 3 times a day. She should do more fermented soy, like miso paste and, things like that. Natto, which are slimy soybeans, but they're really good for you. And then, I would say good pea protein is really good. Pea protein I really like. Hemp, I've been doing a little more digging into hemp protein in general. So hemp is a bioaccumulator. What does that mean? It means it picks up a lot of junk from the soil. So you've got to really make sure that the hemp is being manufactured and processed really well, so it doesn't contain a lot of like arsenic and other stuff from the soil. So you can do hemp, but just maybe not every day, right? You have to like really break it down. But pea protein I like. I really like the Garden of Life grain-free plant protein blend. I love that. It's the only one that I personally can use that doesn't disrupt my blood sugar. So that's a really good one. And then B12, extra B100 for sure. However, here's the other thing I want to say for all the vegans out there, is that sometimes veganism and hormonal balance don't work for a period of time together. If you're trying to recover from a hormonal imbalance, oftentimes being completely vegan doesn't work, and you might need to use animal proteins like eggs or some fish medicinally for a few months to get yourself back on track, so that you can absorb the vegan sources of protein more efficiently. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Jakaima, I hope I'm saying that right. Woman Code has changed my life. The book and the Flow app, my Flow app, actually. I'm so grateful for the healing I've experienced over the past 6 weeks simply by following your protocol. I've been anxiety-free for 60 days now. I feel like my old self again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being a role model for other women in your sphere, your social circle, your community, to tell them what's possible. I mean, this is the thing. I can sit here till I'm blue in the face, which I am very happy to do, to talk about why women need to be living a body-directed, cyclical-oriented diet and lifestyle. But if they can hear it from their best friend, their cousin, their sister, their aunt, their mom, we can have a revolution in our vitality and in our culture as women. And that's really, if I had to say what I'm up to, that's what I'm up to. Okay, let's see. We are, like way over the hour. Girls, ladies, women. Let me just scroll through. Oh my goodness, so many questions. You guys, I want to answer all these questions. How do I do it? All right. I want to talk to Gloria Dweck for a minute because she's talking about breastfeeding, and I'm a new mom and I totally relate to this. So Gloria's saying she has breastfed, is breastfeeding her 6-month-old, hasn't had her period yet, which is totally normal, and feel anxiety simmering. I get it for the smallest things: cooking, going out, handling 4 kids. I've accepted this as my nature. Is it not? Gloria, mama, you got 4 kids. Cut yourself some slack, sister. You know what? Kids can get on your last nerve. I have one. Sometimes she chases me around the house trying to attack my leg. I'm like, can you just please let me walk in a straight line? So, it happens, okay? And she doesn't want to go to bed. It's very frustrating dealing with small people. So I just want to give you some love and support. You are doing an enormous amount by raising 4 children and breastfeeding 1. And what I would just say to you is, what might you need to replenish your micronutrient levels a lot more? Do you need some supplements? Stay on your prenatal, take extra magnesium, eat more food, eat more foods from the menstrual phase, more animal protein, more fats, things that are going to really beef up all the micronutrients that you need to keep yourself even keel. And then whenever you can get some extra sleep, because girl, you must not be getting any sleep. If I'm not getting some, you must not be getting any with 4 kids and a baby. So wherever you can take professional naps, please do. Okay? And I am just loving you from over here. You are my hero for children and breastfeeding. I'm going to keep that in mind next time my kid's driving me nuts. Okay. Let's see. I'm just going to see if there's one more really good question because this is so much fun. Taylor, this is a great question. I devoured all of Woman Code in 1 weekend. Yeah, it was life-changing. You mentioned in the book, but in terms of eating with your cycle, how do you line up the meal prep for eating in your cycle? If your phase changes midweek, can you continue to eat the food you prepared at the beginning of the week while you were in one phase, or should you switch to eat only the food recommended in the new phase? Yeah, Taylor, finish the food, and then maybe, for example, let's say you are going from ovulatory phase to the luteal phase, right? And this is the biggest, I would say you're going from raw foods to more cooked foods, the biggest discrepancy. Yeah, keep having some of the raw foods, but just start having the cooked foods as well. So you can finish up your nice salad, but make sure you have it with some, lentil stew, right? And phase out the foods from the other phase and start phasing in the next phase. It doesn't have to be so precise, but I would say listen to your body. There are some days, for example, today's the very last day of my bleed. So the week before my bleed started, I was brown rice city, had to have my brown rice and lentils, luteal phase kind of stuff. And then the day my period started, I still had some left over. I was like, God, I don't want one more bite of brown rice and lentils. So I was asking my husband if he would finish it up. So, it's sometimes my body's just all set with the foods from that phases. So just let your body guide you. But in the beginning, it's okay to be fluid with it. You don't have to be so precise and perfect. It's all essentially good for you. Okay. All right, ladies. It's 3:15. We could seriously do this for 17 hours. Matcha, no matcha, Maria, no caffeine. Oh my goodness, I love all of your questions. I'm going to try to, I'll see if I can follow up and answer some more for you online, but I do want to respect everybody's time because I see some people are dropping off because, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that we had a really robust conversation for you about what really is at the root cause of anxiety and depression, what I do, the ways that I manage that, the way I have lived through it twice, and recovered naturally, and some of the new studies that are out. I loved all your stories of recovery, of using the book, of using the MyFlow app, of using the monthly Flow program on our site. Keep going, keep taking good care of yourself, and share this resource with other women in your life. I built flowliving.com because when I was going through my hormonal stuff, I felt like there just needed to be a place for periods to go when they weren't working well. And that we could have a place like that now it's such a privilege to do it. So please share this with other women. They need to know about this resource. I won't stop till every woman everywhere with an internet connection knows about this resource so that she can really reclaim the vitality that you're starting to reclaim, or that you now know you can reclaim, because it's your birthright to feel good all month long and to unleash the fullest expression of yourself in your passion and your purpose in this life. So, great chat today, ladies. I'm looking forward to next Thursday. Sending you lots of love, and until we talk again, take really good care of those ovaries. Bye.